Hello. Yes, it is time once again to talk about our second favorite thing in the whole universe, and that is Babylon 5.
I like the way you put that because in many ways, that's kind of what we're doing on today's show, right?
A little bit, a little bit. We're going to do some Desert Island.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with this, one of the reasons why we came up with this concept is because there's a lot of, I guess, personality secrets and details and things of that nature that are really well revealed in a situation like what is your favorite X or what is your favorite Y, and in doing so, it generates just a lot of great discussion and a lot of kind of head scratchy moments. You're like, really, that's your favorite, or that. But at the same time, though, it's a lot of fun because there's no really right or wrong answer to all this kind of stuff, you know.
Nope, it's strictly subjective. It's your opinion, it's what you like. We're all going to be all over the place. We're going to be all over the map as far as these things go, and it's going to be so much fun. It's a great way to get to know somebody. We were talking before the show. It's an icebreaker. You can learn a lot about somebody without getting, like, I don't know, too contested. Like, you don't have to learn their most inner working thoughts, and you don't have to have a massive political, religious, whatever debate. No, this is in good fun.
Oh yeah, this is a total beer and pretzels game. This is just something like I was saying before we started the show, that if you're at a picnic and some people have certain social anxieties that they just can't get past. They don't know how to start a conversation. They don't know how to be part of a conversation. But there's one thing that's generally acceptable amongst a bunch of strangers, and it's playing a game. And this
Right?
is
Always
just
up
a
for that.
game. Exactly. And this is a game with like the lightest and least demanding of rules. You don't have to break out a board game. You don't have to worry about someone being an expert or uber competitive.
Right.
This is just a bunch of people sitting around a table having drinks as
We
some of
are.
us
And
are,
you
as
know
we are.
what? It's time for me to pour a little bit more. I'm doing my mid-morning special of some Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh, I heard the sizzle come off that.
Did you?
It's
Nice.
freshly carbonated.
I love carbonation. I really do. It kind of sickens me how much I like it. I've been a soda addict my whole life. It's pretty
Have you?
sad. Yeah, unfortunately, I grew up in a soda household. My mom drank Diet Pepsi like she should have been drinking water. It was that
Gotcha.
sort of thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
look, I know it's full of chemicals. I know it's going to eventually kill me. I'd rather get cancer than dementia. So
Okay. That's part of the that's a desert island kind of question, like in a way,
I
right?
mean, it's a little dark for Desert Island, maybe, but like, yeah, how do you want to die? Let's talk about that.
Well, since we have our beverages in tow, let's start off this
Shall we salute?
conversation with our salute. So, Valtu
All right,
to
Val
everybody.
2. And what are you drinking, sir, in your Dunder Mifflin mug?
This is Dwight Schrute's special coffee.
It's got beets in it?
It may have beets. It may have bears. It definitely doesn't have Battlestar Galactica.
Because we're talking Babylon 5.
That's right.
Let's say hi to John Bowersox and Slice of Sci-Fi, who are joining us once again. Thank you very much, you guys. And yes, I don't know about you, Norm, but I woke up to some sad news this morning about Aaron Eisenberg.
Yeah, I was on the Twitter feed. I read about that, and in all honesty, as much as we joke back and forth about what was better, or what started first or what came first, Babylon 5 or Deep Space Nine. I watched Deep Space Nine in its entirety when it first came out. And
same.
I've said this before, like my favorite cast members on Deep Space Nine were none of the main cast.
You like the side characters?
I loved all the side characters. I loved Garrick. I loved Ducat. I love, not love, but I appreciated the way that they're written. If they're not main characters, Kai Wynn,
right,
Damar, and of course Nog, right?
Nog. I mean,
Aaron Eisenberg.
What a heck of an arc that character went through, from kind of like just that typical teenage Ferengi troublemaker to a model Starfleet officer, and he lost his leg. I mean, went through some serious emotional turmoil. For a side character, Deep Space Nine really grew their characters well.
Yeah, and from what I understand, and from all the tweets that I've seen, and from the especially from the DS9 documentary feed, he just seemed like such a great light, and as fans of Babylon 5, we're no stranger to losing
Oh
family of
gosh,
ours,
no.
right?
Yeah, and it always hurts when you lose a member of that family and in any fandom, right? But I
Mhm.
think it especially hurts when you lose somebody so young. Aaron
Yeah.
was only 50. That's a life cut short.
Yeah, and coming up on that big number for me, it puts a lot of things into perspective, and you're just like, like you said with a diet soda, you go out the way you want to go out, right?
Right? Find what you love and let it kill you. I
Right.
forget who said that, but it is a quote.
Well, I mean, there's like going back to like becoming Superman. Joe made a lot of choices, and a lot of choices probably weren't the most convenient or probably even like the most logical of choices. But he chose the lifestyle and the path that meant the most to him, and it put him through a lot of different trials and tribulations and or tribbles and tribulations.
Wait, that's the other show.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about and tying this back into this game is that you really kind of like focus on in business what we like to call the vital few, like the 3 or 4 things, 5 things that mean the most to you on a daily basis. And that's not so much like the game itself, like Desert Island, isn't so much like a do or die like type of scenario, but it is one of those things where you're like, okay, you're looking around your room or you're looking around your fandoms and what you watch or what you read, and you're like, okay, you know what? If I only had one thing to pick from all of this to watch until into time immemorial, what would it be?
Yeah.
Right?
So that's what we got to boil down to today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got all sorts of stuff lined up. Like we were spitballing suggestions back and forth throughout the week. And so we've got lots we can go through. And then with our viewers here, I'm sure you guys are going to come up with your ideas. Throw them out there. And then you know what? If we accrue so many of them that we feel justified in doing a part two,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some of the comments here before we jump in. So,
Good idea.
uh, John Bowersock says most of the cast of Babylon 5 isn't with us anymore, so we face tough losses, and we
Yep.
have. And Slice of Sci-Fi says, seeing those season 3 episodes where Garibaldi is talking with either Jakar or Franklin, those are getting harder to watch, and they are.
Agreed.
And the toughest thing about that is that we know who we've lost, how we've lost them, but at the same time, though, we had them.
Yes, and it's important to appreciate that just because they weren't with us that long.
Right. And for a lot of newer Babylon 5 fans that are finding it on Comet or on Amazon Prime or getting it on DVD or even finding us through some of the recommendations that we've given on the show, one of the toughest things about life and loss is that when the loss happens, it's so profound because we know how much joy that life has brought us. And,
Absolutely.
we've all gone through periods of that in our lives, and the greatest thing to do is to keep them close to your heart and to keep those memories alive and memorialized and shared. And that's kind of like where, again, going back to this desert island scenario, that this list that you put into your head, it changes over the course of time, but
Sure.
some things really do rise to the top and always stay there.
The cream of the crop, if you will.
The cream of the crop. As in some of my older podcasts, I call it those tent pole lists. Those the top of the top that no matter how hard anyone with even the best debate or argument can bring will never shake you off that choice. Right?
You're gonna die on that mountain, dang it.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And we're probably gonna come across some of those today. So do you want to dig in?
It was the last time you've played a desert island scenario.
Ooh, good question. It was probably the last time, and I'm trying to remember when that might have been. It might have been last winter when my husband and I were doing a little road trip to go to Vegas
Okay.
and go see my sister for a day or two. And it might have been then because that's something we like to do is when we're on the road and there's not a whole lot to look at, this is the perfect kind of thing to do.
Right. Right. Yeah, I played it recently with some friends when I visited some friends in Atlanta to go play the World of Warcraft Classic relaunch. There were some people there that I haven't seen in a while, and we just decided to kind of reacquaint ourselves, and it just kind of organically comes out, and you just start playing it again, and you're like, oh, okay, I remember this game. We played it back in a picnic at my house like years ago, and some things have changed and some things haven't. but one of the things I wanted to establish are kind of like the ground rules, and it
Okay.
allows you to kind of like bring those choices to bear with a little bit, maybe like an easier decision tree. So essentially, desert island is if you're on a trip and you've packed up all your worldly goods and you're going from point A to point B, and all of a sudden the ship capsizes and you're losing everything, and you can only grab a certain amount of things to bring on the lifeboat.
You're on the Titanic. Dang
Right.
it.
hmm And you have your favorite piece of art, your favorite book, your favorite food, and then all of a sudden you wash up on that desert island and you're there for, you don't know how long. These are the choices that you've brought with you that will get you through all of that time.
And now you're on the Lost Island.
Right. Now you're on the
I'm
Lost Island
convoluting a lot of things. I'm sorry.
with Delenn. Yeah.
Yes, she was there. Rousseau.
Yeah. So that's where these choices come from. And because, this is a fantasy list, you can watch or read or enjoy whatever you want, because there's going to be some type of replicator there for you to be able to
Oh, good.
to keep those
Good.
things going.
But you're very limited in your choices. You can only pick one of the things. It'll print one book, it'll make one movie,
Right.
it'll make
And
one food.
that's a great way of looking at it. It's like all of a sudden
Yeah.
you have like this thing, and it'll replicate one thing for you, and then all of a sudden it runs out of power, or it
Or it falters.
explodes or falters, in some way, and all of a sudden you're stuck with that choice. And like I'm not sure if you are a fan of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh yeah.
But the question's three. You only have that one answer, or you're cast into that chasm of despair.
Yes. Yes, much like that.
Yeah. So red. What's your favorite color? Red? No. Ah!
Love it. Okay, so do we just want to go straight through our list here? And
Yeah, well, let's alternate our lists, but I think that we should
Okay.
throw a couple of softballs out there just to get the brain warmed up a little
all
bit.
right. I mean, it is Sunday morning. This is not a bad idea.
Yeah, so let's go for some choices or some questions that are just like, okay, because some of the top level ones they're fairly easy.
Okay.
for
Okay.
some.
Well, what do you want to start off with then?
You go first. Love for you to go first.
Oh, you want me to pick? Fine. Okay, we're gonna start easy, huh?
Mhm.
What's easy?
Not. I would say easier in a scale of really really hard to not so
Okay.
hard.
I got one. I'm not sure how easy this will be, but this is going to be a good one just to get our brains rolling. And
Mhm.
it's not even on our list.
Okay.
It's favorite opening theme of the 5 seasons.
Oh wow.
Which
Okay.
one is it?
Okay. So for me, I've always loved season 5. Always loved season 5 because there's a very triumphant aspect of that. I love the way that the score is just very thunderously positive. And also in season 5 is the only season that I know of that I can remember that has an alternate title sequence for one episode. And that's the Sidecar episode, Trust the Core.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. Well,
Yeah.
that's my selection too, is I love that season 5 is a little bit of a celebration of every previous season in
Mhm.
its theme.
Yeah. Any
Yeah.
particular part in that theme that really resonates with you?
Ooh. Um Yeah, okay. It's when the shield starts coming into focus and bum 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 bum, that triumphant just blaring.
Right.
Yeah, just it gets my heart pumping.
And the sword comes down, the shield, yeah.
Yeah, and then the shiny glow and you're just, yeah, Babylon 5.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So good, right?
I mean, how can you not appreciate it?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very solid opening theme.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
said, whatever season I'm watching is my favorite, but I always gravitate when I'm listening to each theme, and sometimes I'll just listen to Babylon 5 on just with, YouTube with strictly audio
Mhm.
as background music. Season 5 always stands out to me as, oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And for all of our listeners and viewers out there, let us know what your choice is as we go through
please
the desert
chime
island.
in. Slice of Sci-Fi is all ready. She's got her beverage. We're good. Yeah.
Chilled bottle of Gold Peak lemonade tea on hand.
I don't
Sounds
know what that is, but it sounds great.
sounds delicious. So
Mhm.
speaking of drinks, I'd like to go in with favorite food or beverage.
Okay, that's unique to Babylon 5. Now,
Mhm.
granted, we haven't exactly been able to taste any of it,
Right.
but you know what my selection would be that I would like to try?
Hmm.
Flarn.
Flarn.
Little
Okay.
tofu cubes or whatever the heck they are.
Would you go through the entire Flarn ritual,
I think I'd have to, wouldn't I? That would
or
be the
else?
consequence of choosing Flarn.
Yeah, because you'd have to do the Flarn, you'd have to do the ritual. No
I
salt,
might
no
fall asleep.
pepper. Yeah.
Yes. I like that picture over there.
Yeah. Or else somebody would have to redo the entire Flarn uh,
Oh,
preparation ritual. Poor
yeah.
Lanier.
Poor Lanier. He'd have to be that little biatch, wouldn't he?
He was so upset. So upset.
Eating nothing but bread and water would make anybody upset.
Yeah. He's only Minbari. And it's like he's only human. Yeah, even Minbari have their threshold from time to time.
It's true. We've all got our limits. What about you? What would it be?
I've always wanted to try a Jovian sunspot.
Yeah, good
They
choice.
just look gorgeous, right?
Yes, you're right.
And in very many ways, in the preparation of that, it looks like a tequila sunrise, but
Mhm.
and maybe that's the inspiration for it. But yeah, I've always wanted to try a nice Jovian sunspot.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. All right. I'm surprised neither one of us said spoo.
I read about Spoo, and Spoo seems to be a little close to what I think Joe was alluding to in Becoming Superman, where Sophia just boiled everything to death,
Just the most
right?
miserable but and barely edible food ever.
Exactly.
You're
And
right. Yeah, that's just depressing. That's like
yeah.
bread and water.
So Slice of Sci-Fi says her favorite theme might be season 2, and she also loves
All
Crusade's
right.
theme, and I do like Crusade's theme a lot
Hmm.
too. That's a really good choice. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Some love for Crusade. Love
Yep.
it.
Yep. All right. What's next on the list, Char?
Okay, well, let's get into the list, shall we?
Mhm.
How about we boil it down to a favorite season?
Wow.
I
Wow.
know.
That's swinging for the fences. That's a big one.
I know.
Okay.
Let's just dig in. Let's do it.
Honestly, my favorite season 1.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. Pound
Hey.
pound for pound, my favorite season 1.
Mm. I mean, I've definitely appreciate season 1 more with every subsequent rewatch,
Mhm.
but some of my very favorite key moments are in season 3, and I think
Sure.
I've got to go with that. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of episodes like Severed Dreams
Mhm.
and The Rock Cried Out. I can't not live without that.
Right. No, I totally get that. It's just, going back to the whole like desert island thing. There's something about the evenness and the even keel of having Sinclair, like watching him over time and kind of getting like sometimes I just want to hear him do that whole thing with like, when I was with the Jesuits, we were taught to, meditate in the morning and breathe in and breathe
And
out
out.
and breathe
That would
in,
be,
breathe out.
somebody ought to make a loop of that and just use that as like a little 5-minute meditation.
Yeah.
And I imagine it would put us to sleep in no time.
I also like season 1 a lot because season 1, all of the characters, with the exception of one of my favorites, all the characters, they're still in that they're trying to feel themselves out phase. Like, who are we as characters?
Yeah.
How do we relate to each other? And I've always enjoyed the seasons where Londo he's just still a buffoon,
Yes.
right?
You know what? I really do. Like, as the seasons go on, I miss just goofball failure Londo, who's just a drunk and cheats at cards. And,
Mm-hmm.
that gets lost as he further damns himself into his destiny.
Right.
But that said,
Yeah.
it's not enough to make me choose season 1.
Yeah. Season 3 is probably one of the greatest seasons of TV of all time. Of all time.
I'm not disagreeing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
season 3 and season 4. Season 4 is also incredibly solid with a lot of key moments that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to have No Hiding Place, baby.
I
I
feel you.
gotta.
I feel you. I dig that. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and Slice of Sci-Fi agrees with me.
Oh,
Season 3.
yeah. I mean, season 3 is a great season. Yeah.
It is. It's super good.
But for season 1 for me, as much as I love And the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place, I also love Believers. And
Yes, I know that's one of your favorites.
it's one of my favorites. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
So,
Well, maybe shooting off of that, should we go to favorite episode?
yeah. That's going to be easy.
Question mark?
Yeah. That's going to be easy. We could actually even turn this into like a newlywed game, because I think you could probably answer that one for me.
I mean, I know you can guess for me. You know what it is.
And the rock cried out, "No hiding place."
Yo, duh. I totally just gave it away about 5 seconds ago.
Me too. And we talked
That
about this in the previous episode. Then
all the
that
time.
is,
Yeah, with that music.
it's
And
so
then
good.
Rifa trying to make the escape, and he's just getting beaten to death by the Narn.
Yeah.
So rightfully. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful
Yeah, I
thing.
mean,
Also, the White Star Fleet, John and Delen's first real-time kiss. I mean, yeah, gotta have it. Gotta have it.
there's a lot going on in that I think that a lot of people don't see when the top, like, say 10 episodes are recommended to them, because Severed Dreams is always up there, Zahadum is always up there, right?
Of course.
Intersections in Real Time is always up there. So
yeah. How about a second? Well, okay, sorry, you got to give us your favorite episode, but I also want to do second favorite episode.
I think I already told you mine.
Oh, it was Believers.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just there. What I loved about okay, we'll go into Believers, and I think it's probably one of the key episodes, I think, for me, for all of Babylon 5, is that you're delving into something that's very almost Star Trekian, and it's like, who's in the right. You take a look at all these different perspectives, like who has the right to tell somebody to do this or that, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's about convictions. It's about what you believe is the right thing to do. And Franklin thinks, goes, why is my belief any lesser than their belief? My belief is to do no harm. And if I don't treat this child, I am doing harm to him.
Yep.
Right? And that also kind of that seasons Franklin's character a lot towards later character developments, where he takes that Hippocratic oath so intensely, to the point where he also creates his own demise through that.
Right. Yep.
So.
And Stephen is incredibly headstrong. He is so convinced that he is right, and if he could just get through to the other person just how right he is, he can save the day.
That's what he believes.
Just, this is a theme for him, for sure.
Yeah. How about you? Second favorite?
If you take away some of the absolute essentials, like Severed Dreams, that whole trilogy, really, Messages from Earth, Point of No Return, Severed Dreams, and the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place, there's so many other candidates, of course, but the first thing that comes to mind for me is Comes the Inquisitor.
Excellent choice.
I love what that episode does. It strips Delenn down at the very bare heart of it all. Who is she? What does she stand for? And I think that's a powerful message for all of us to examine within ourselves. But then also seeing Sheridan put himself on the line.
Right.
And just, it really shows you what those two are made of.
I think that really brings up a good point of when characters are at their, I think they're at their most walkabout moment, as I've brought that up before, and maybe we can do this for the next episode, is that the episode and the focus really comes down to those two questions. Who are you and what do you want?
Always, right? That is Babylon 5 in a nutshell.
Right, because Sebastian was really asking Delenn, who are you? And she keeps saying, like, I'm Delenn, I'm the ambassador. It's like, no, those are titles, those are affectations, those are what have been bestowed upon you by society or by your government or by your religion. But who are you?
Right. Yeah, right? At the heart of the matter, what makes you tick.
Exactly. And that's just when Sheridan was, at the pit of Zahadum with Lorien, he asked those questions. Who are you and what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? That might be a really good episode next week. Let's do that.
Yeah, and again, even with Franklin, when he was confronted by himself at the end of his walkabout, he goes, what do you want? I want to do it all over again.
Right.
Right.
Who is he? Yeah, he was maybe one of the more direct walkabout moments. But as we've pointed out in previous episodes, everybody has their walkabout moment.
Right. Exactly. Like, who are you? Yep. Who are you and what do you want? That's a great next episode.
All right, we're going to do it.
That's going to be the title. Who are you and what do you want?
So before we go to another desert island, John has a comment for you.
Okay, so Norman, of all time, what are you talking about? Highland of the series becomes a horseman. Revelation 6-8 season 5. Well, uh, I'm talking about, at least in this context, John, we're really only discussing Babylon 5 desert island scenarios, because for me, if it was for Highlander, we could talk about that offline.
That's another show.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All
All
right.
right. Oh, Slice of Sci-Fi just rang in with a great question. Have you
Mhm.
guys examined the parallel journeys of Marcus and Lanier? No, we have not, and we should.
Great topic. Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's jot that down. That is really good.
All righty. That's a good
Okay.
one.
Next one. What
Okay.
shall we do? How about favorite non-main character? Somebody who's not in the opening credits.
Not in the opening credits. Okay.
Yeah.
It has to be hands down for me. It's got to be Bester.
Fester?
Yeah, it has to be Bester, because he brings, as a non-main character, he puts so much in motion consistently over the course of 5 seasons.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that he's not a main cast member just for all that he contributes to the story. He's always that menace. You
Mhm.
don't want to deal with him, but you kind of have to, and you know it's going to be just messy with
Yeah,
him.
there are so many layers. Like, you can't take Bester at face value ever.
Never. You can't.
Ever.
No, you know he's always got some other motive
Yeah.
behind his facade that he's presenting.
Or multiple. He's always operating on a very tiered structure, mentally tiered structure of all these different choices. If this goes, this goes. If this goes, this goes. If this goes, this goes. Kind of like with Dust to Dust. He didn't know what was going to happen, but all of a sudden things worked in his favor that were even beyond his expectations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What
Love
about you,
it.
Shar?
Well, it just occurred to me as I was thinking about this, Kosh is not in the main credits.
You're right. Ardright Chamberlain is not in the main credits as Kosh.
So I've got to go with Kosh.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, it's not like he doesn't put a lot of things in motion.
Yeah. He's a man of few words, but right. He's kind of important to the story. I've got to go with Kosh.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. And I'd love to know what our listeners are thinking about.
Yeah,
their
guys,
favorite
please
guest
chime
character.
in. All right, next one. How about favorite guest star?
That was a toughy one for me. Yeah,
there's a few here.
Yeah.
Oof.
But I'm probably gonna have to go with Brad Dourif as
dang it, you took my pick.
as Brother Edward, right? Yeah.
I mean, Brad Dourif is he's so damn good at playing the cute but psycho kind of people.
Okay, so since we both agreed on that, and that's our desert island pick, let's take that off the table.
Okay,
right? And
let's
go
remove
for something
that.
else. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Who's next? I mean, kind of the standout names come to mind. Michael York.
Yeah. John Bowersox has David Warner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a very good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. I like that a lot.
I already had it back up.
I think I might go, and I don't even remember Bridget, something or another, the lady who played Zoe, Lockley's friend.
Oh, right.
In Day of the Dead. Or is it Dodger? I freaking love Dodger.
I love Dodger too.
Oh my gosh. And I've been listening to Becoming Superman on audiobook, just kind of on loop, on infinite repeat for a little while. And you can tell that there's certain people in Joe's life who contributed to the character of Dodger. And I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Now, okay. So good questions are, is a guest character only in one episode? Like that guest
not
character?
Necessarily, right? It doesn't have to be. I mean, or do you consider that a recurring character?
Yeah, because like Bester is definitely a recurring character.
Yeah.
A recurring character, non-main cast.
Yeah, but okay, so is a guest a one-off?
Yeah, because Brad Dourif was a one-off. His brother Edward was a one-off.
Right. I mean, Dodger was in twice. She was dead, but
Yeah, but I would consider that really non-recurring.
Yeah.
Like Morden would be a recurring character. Naroon would be a recurring character.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I mean, I think we're on the right track. All right. Yeah. I think I've got to go with Dodger.
Yeah,
Freaking
as a
Dodger.
non-recurring guest star.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and don't remember the actress who played her, but she did a fantastic job embodying that. I mean, you knew who Dodger was.
She lived for the moment. You know, she was
Big
just
time.
yeah. Slice of Sci-Fi says I like number one. We don't even find out her real name until the end of season 5. That's what is it? Marjorie Monahan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Tessa is
Tessa.
her real name. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's really good too. Once you really start to get to know her,
Hmm.
she's fun. Really, that's the spinoff that needed to happen but didn't.
I think for me, a limited character, a limited recurring character that we don't get a lot of screen time on. So I would put his character probably in a guest starring role. It definitely would be Marshall Teague's Talon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was great too.
Yeah, I mean, like I wanted to choose Wortham Crimmer's, Emperor Cartagia because he's so good,
Oh, he's so demented. I love it.
right? But I
Yeah.
have, I have a affinity towards Talon and the Narn. You know that.
Yeah. Well, and Talon, yeah, he's a younger, slightly more gentle version of Jakar.
Yeah, he's definitely a protege, Jakar's protege
Yeah. Yeah.
in many ways.
Much respect for him.
Yeah,
Slice of Sci-Fi says, "Does Vance Howard count? Do you mean Rance Howard, Ron Howard's dad, who
yeah,
played John's dad?"
Rance Howard. I would say,
Yeah,
I would
I
say,
think that might have been an autocorrect issue.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
I would say, yeah, for that.
yeah. Bernie Casey, Derek Cranston. Okay, we didn't bring up Bryan Cranston, who made an
Hmm.
appearance on Babylon 5 as a
Yeah,
ranger.
and he made like the Ranger appearance, as a guest Ranger.
Yeah, I love watching that scene now, just because I love Breaking Bad so much.
And it's like you don't have you're not married, are you? And he's like,
Right?
He said,
That
well,
whole, I mean,
yeah,
it was interesting that that was a consideration, right?
yeah, and very much like there was what was that movie about breaking the Enigma code? The scientists wrote the Enigma code, and they knew exactly where the Germans were going to like attack, and they couldn't do anything really about it
Oh, uh-huh.
because it would give up their position, and they would give up that the Germans,
Right.
lost the ability to strike using the Enigma code. So that was kind of like that scene for me because they needed what
They
was
needed
Eric?
that cover.
They needed Erickson to make it believable that
Right.
that they it was worth dying for. That data was worth dying for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knew the stakes.
And he looks so good in the Ranger uniform. So
He
good.
did. He did. He looked great.
Yeah.
Yes. So Dodger was played by Marie Marshall. Thank you, Slice of Sci-Fi.
She was great. Loved her.
Yep.
Loved her,
Very
loved her,
good.
loved her. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Shall we go on to the next one?
Yeah, we're getting to the big ones soon.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
Okay.
What is your favorite prop?
My favorite prop,
Yeah.
hands down, always has been the Minbari fighting pike.
Once again, you take my favorite. But there's just something so wicked cool about the Minbari fighting pike. How can you not love that thing?
Right?
Oh my god, yeah.
I know.
PPG's got nothing on that baby.
No. And
Yeah,
also,
sorry, a PPG is just a little handgun.
I like those the weapons. Okay, so let's take Minbari fighting pike off the table because we both agree on it. And let's
after that. You know what my next favorite prop is? The bowl of oranges in Sheridan's quarters. Thank you, Janet Greek.
Oh, okay, very cool. Yeah.
Just because that's so cute.
I love the Triluminary. I've always been a big fan of the Triluminary.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I had this theory. I don't think it's ever been discussed, but we all know that the Triluminary is the holy relic that it proved that that Sinclair was had the DNA and was a child of Valen. And they didn't know at the time it was Valen himself. So
Right.
I always believed that the Triluminary was in some way a surviving piece of Sinclair's original communicator.
Yeah.
Because remember, those were DNA coded.
Yeah.
So the only way for it to know that and adhere to Sinclair's the back of his hand is that if it recognized his DNA.
Yeah. Oh, you're so right.
Right. So
Cool.
if it broke up into different pieces, the technology would still be there that it would only recognize Sinclair's DNA.
Love it. Love it. I also love John Bowersox's comment about the speeder bike. That was really cool. I think that's his favorite prop. Hell yeah. I'm going to take that thing for a spin too.
Gideon Speeder, whatever you call that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Garibaldi's Ninja was cool too.
The 1992 Kawasaki.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think I would take the speeder bike
you know,
instead.
if it weren't for the Triluminary, I'd probably say the entire box and presentation of the Centauri, the Kutari, the fighting swords of the
Oh,
Morago.
yeah, that's very much in your wheelhouse. I see that.
I'm trying to put my own together. It's just it's just really hard. So if anyone out there knows who designed those swords and designed the dueling case for those swords, please let me know, because I will make that happen in some way.
You would pay good money for that, is what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. So many Centauri ducats would be spent.
Slice of Sci-Fi's favorite prop is data crystals behind the Minbari fighting pike. That's a great one.
Crystals. I love data crystals.
They're super cool. Didn't you have an idea a long time ago? Why aren't those a USB drive?
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
they should be. They so should be.
I thought that B5 Books lost a little bit of an opportunity to not put like the entire B5 encyclopedia
on a data crystal.
On a data crystal. It's just one
would
of those
have been
things.
A beautiful thing.
You want to see a data crystal, go into a USB port and have the entirety of like Babylon 5 like in that, and you can get it. I mean, you can get up to, I have one on my keychain that's like 16 gigabytes or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they can hold, I think you can even get a terabyte now, which is insane.
Exactly. I just thought for a Babylon 5 fan, it would be kind of cool to have a data crystal in your pocket.
That would be, that would be a sacred jewel, wouldn't it?
But also there's this whole thing where kind of like crystalline data storage technology, that kind of bio data technology, is not far a flung idea in technology where it's concerned.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Cool
and
stuff.
And if you're a Superman fan, especially the Richard Donner Superman, you know that all of Krypton was pretty much all of Krypton was like compressed and preserved in crystals, in the crystals of Superman's ship.
Yeah.
I always love that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Oh, John Bowersox has a great comment. I think you just saw it too. We did not mention Majel Barrett Roddenberry. And oh my gosh, yes, Lady Morella. She was beautiful in that role.
Yeah. And obviously very important to the storylines with Londo and Veer.
And Veer, right. Yeah, one will become emperor after the other has died.
Yeah, you will be emperor, and you will also be emperor.
Such a good thing. I love that scene.
What's next, Char?
How about favorite scene?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oi. Okay, I got to think about this one for a second, because I mean, there's several. Which one must I narrow it down to?
And the thing is that this could change dramatically the next time, like in an hour for me, or in a day, or in 10 days. For real
though, I think this is heavily influenced, like whatever you have watched lately, that's going to be your favorite. It's going to be more in your memory. That's going to come faster.
Yeah.
Boy. Oh, this one's so hard. Hard.
I have several, but one for me is always been one of my favorites. Always been one of my favorites.
What is it?
It's the opening of Knives, where Londo and Veer are just singing opera, singing Centauri opera. And the level of immersion that Peter and that Steven both put themselves in to sell that scene. Like there's no, I've looked and like, there are no like, fan made like, or even like scripted Centauri opera. They started talking about the composers and the phrasing of certain scenes with such realism that you're just like, it sounds like they've known these operas their entire lives. And the debate that goes in, and then even Londo getting swayed, like you're right. And he starts, doing
getting a little giddy,
getting into it. And I'm like, that's just one of the purest acted scenes I've seen in Babylon 5.
So good. That's a great pick. one of the first things that came to my mind was the scene that helped me fall in love with Babylon 5. So I think I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
It's in The Very Long Night of Londo Mollari,
Mhm.
where Veer has his outburst in the Zocalo. Garibaldi is coming out to tell him about what's going on with Londo. And Veer is under the assumption that Londo's been poisoned, right?
Yeah. Right.
And he says, "What is wrong with you people? Why don't you get a hobby? Read a book or something." And then Garibaldi has to kind of cut in. He's like, "What?" And then finds out that he had a heart attack and it was the left heart. That's bad.
The bad. Yeah. The
Yeah,
bad
the
one.
bad one.
Yeah. Which heart? The left heart.
The left one.
It was the left one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That I don't know why that sticks out so hardcore in my brain, but like why did that make me fall in love with Babylon 5? I guess it was just I had never seen anything quite like that on TV before.
Okay.
Mixing serious drama like somebody's life is on the line with a funny outburst like that.
Mhm.
It just yeah, something about that grabbed me and sucked me in.
Yeah, it's a great scene. And you're right. It's since Stephen First really understood Veer at that time, he was
Yeah.
able to bring a lot of weight and a lot of just experience now to that character in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So instead of going for a super dramatic pivotal moment, I'm going to go with that.
Slice of Sci-Fi says where Sheridan confronts Justin and Morden about how Anna wasn't his Anna anymore.
Ooh, yeah. Good one.
Let's see. John Bowersox. This one is too hard to choose. That's what makes this
Yeah, for
this
real
game
though.
so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. You know, another one that really sticks out now that you got me thinking about Zaha Doom
Mhm.
is when Sheridan's falling to his death again, he says, "Do you have anything worth living for?" And he says, "Delenn."
Yeah.
Yep, epic love story.
Another
here
one of
for
my
it.
another one of my favorite scenes is that there's absolutely really nothing going on in the scene aside from what you're watching and the way it's shot. And it's when Garibaldi only had one job, and it was to tell the White Star Fleet when they were going to get ambushed, by these unknown forces at the jump gate, and Garibaldi is passed out drunk, and he's shot through the bottle of or the glass of booze that he was drinking, kind of like half drunk,
Oh,
and he's
that's
just passed
so
out.
good, right?
And you hear everything that's happening that he was supposed to prevent in the background on comms, and I'm just like, wow, literally an entire that when you really think about it, the attack on Centauri Prime happened because of this failure.
Yeah. It's painful to watch that
Right.
after the first time when you know what's happening, when you know what's coming, and you're just, Michael, no.
Right. And it was literally like his greatest. He could have prevented the entire destruction of Centauri Prime.
That's just
based
it.
on that moment.
It was completely preventable, and
Mhm. And
that's why alcoholism sucks.
yeah, and that one human frailty caused the entire destruction of a planet.
Good gravy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say in terms of a powerful scene, like with that kind of impact, it's when Garibaldi kind of betrayed Sheridan and he gets the bejesus beaten out of him to that bar music that I
Mhm.
love so much. That's one of my favorite pieces of Babylon 5 music. You can find it on YouTube. I'll provide a link if anybody wants it.
Yeah.
But the way that's composed, where there's, it cuts, so frequently. It's like an MTV video on crack, and then
Yeah.
they've got freeze frames, and it's just, I think in a moment like that, and Joe certainly knows what this is like, where he got that from his beating in San Diego, where time slows down. You remember every little detail.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that really came through in the way that they portrayed that scene. And
Yeah.
it kicks me in the gut.
Yeah, the more and more that you really kind of like rewatch a lot of Joe's work, you realize how much of his own story he's kind of projected into that work.
Right. And that's what a good writer does, though, is they draw upon their experiences and insert it into their story.
Yeah.
That's how you convey that emotion.
And another great scene is, obviously it's one of my favorites, is when Sheridan's being interrogated, and he says,
I know you're
the whole, like, every time I say no, he can resist.
I love
corruption.
how he says that.
Yeah.
Every time I say no.
Right.
Yeah. Go Sheridan.
That's Sheridan that's at his core.
Yeah. Right. You're not going to starve it out of him. You're not going to sleep deprive him out of that. At the core of him,
that's him.
It's him.
You can't break that, you know?
Yeah, you can't fake it. We
Yeah.
have so many other good scene suggestions. Oh my gosh, where John is running from the shadows and Delenn is watching his goodbye message. Yep, I tear up. I'm like Delenn. I'm heartbroken. I'm a hot mess after that. I can't handle it. All the scenes where Lanier and Vera talking about their bosses, I love that so much that
It's
they
so
kind of
perfect.
commiserate. It's so good.
It's like Babylon 5, The Office, right?
Yes,
You know?
exactly. Same time again tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep, yep. Also, John Bowersox has another good one where John Sheridan has his speech right before kind of like the battle for Earth. Your sons, your
Yeah,
daughters.
I know. His
So
speeches are
good.
so good, right?
Yeah, that's why he's the epic hero, baby. He's got
"We
good speech.
have come home." I'm like, "Oh,"
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Also, one of my favorite Sheridan moments is when he's basically said, "Damn me for agreeing to it, and damn all of us to hell, because that's exactly where we're
Where we're
going."
going. Yes.
You know,
Angry Sheridan is kind of fun. I like him when he gets all worked up.
you want a war? Well, you
You
got a
got a
war.
war. Yeah,
He's like
yeah. And
all
we've
this, and
mentioned Kosh.
yeah.
I've got nothing to lose. We've mentioned that a lot recently. Um Also, oh god, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. What is it?
Well, I
My
mean,
brain just went poof.
Slice of Sci-Fi says it's if you value your lives moment from Severed Dreams,
Oh, of course. How can
right?
we forget that? Oh my god, that's her finest moment. It's
Okay,
one of her finest
yeah,
moments.
we're gonna have to get off this because we got
Okay,
to
yeah,
get through a
we could
couple
just
more,
keep rambling off tons of scenes. There's so much good stuff. Oh my
right?
god. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Favorite character arc. Oh, gee, this will be an easy one.
I'll give you one guess. Char,
Yo, Jakar. Come on. Come on.
obviously for me, obviously,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough between Londo and Jakar. And they're so intertwined.
yeah, yeah. I think for me though, between Londo and Jakar, I think Londo has not so much of a great character arc, but it's just kind of like the train wreck that you can't take your eyes off of,
Sure, sure.
right?
Yeah, he descends into the darkness. Jakar moves toward the light.
Right.
Therefore, it's I think a little easier to gravitate towards Jakar. He's that kind of like that Martin Luther King figure, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
He wraps up a lot of the kind of like the archetypes from history, kind of like the, like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. You
Yeah,
want to get that character where they start off. I mean, the very first time that you see Jakar, he was behind like all these machinations that's happening on Ragesh 3, right?
yeah.
He's using whatever resources are at his disposal, and he's blackmailing people for this, and he's putting people into bad situations, without any real care for himself, as long as the Centauri are punished.
Right. He cares about anger,
Mhm.
retaliation,
Right.
vengeance.
So he's retribution in one hand and forgiveness at the end. Because there's that scene where I can't forgive Centauri Prime for what you've done to my people. I can forgive you.
Yeah.
And that brings me to tears every single time
Yeah.
because of how angry he was before, where he fell to dust, and where he eventually comes to as a spiritual leader of his people. Like that arc to me is so profound, but like Londo's is just a slide into the abyss,
It
right?
is. It is.
So,
Okay, so let's take Londo and Jakar out of the equation because I feel
mm-hmm,
like those always stand out. Those are kind of the popular choices. Removing them, I
mm-hmm.
might have to go with Sinclair.
Sinclair, yeah. Well, Sinclair's journey is obviously epic.
It's pretty amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
when you wind up being a god, essentially, you
Mm-hmm.
can't top that.
Yeah,
I just
and
love the way that all comes full circle, too. There's so many clues going through season one. He's got the hole in his mind. He talks like a Minbari.
mm-hmm.
But that first time you're watching through, you can't piece together where it's going. And it's such a revelation when you get there in War Without End.
Right. Yeah. The whole thing was like an unveiling. I'm like, oh, you are
You're like,
what?
my God, a Minbari, not born of Minbari.
Right. That whole kind of like that revelation when they're all talking about, especially when Marcus says it, or like, I remember seeing that the first time. I was like, what? Like
Right? I mean, your mind's blown.
And
Holy crap, he was Valen. He is Valen.
and whereas the Chrysalis turned Delenn more human, the Chrysalis in this case turned
Turns him
him
Minbari.
more Minbari.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Right. And also the Chrysalis has the triluminary on top of it. So
There you
again,
go.
once again, the nod back to Sinclair's DNA.
Right. It all comes full circle right there.
Yeah.
So
Great. That's
it's
a
a
great
beautiful way to wrap up that character's arc. I'm so glad that Michael O'Hare was well enough to let that happen. And then I'm also very grateful that Joe, made sure that it did happen. Writing it into the story.
For sure.
All right, Slice of Sci-Fi says, for me, Marcus, with Lita being a close second, great choices.
Mhm.
Jakar's redemption arc, finally choosing to go off grid with Lita to help her find her own state of grace. Those two, that was the spinoff that's another spinoff that needed to happen that we didn't get.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we would see Lita pop up if Legend of the Rangers continue, because we obviously know that Jakar eventually made it to whatever he was doing there. They needed a tie-in character, of course, but it would have been interesting to see that if Lita and the war against the Psi Corps would have manifested itself in the Legend of the Rangers series if that went forward.
Right? Yeah. That would have had a lot of potential.
A couple questions that I want to bring up that we haven't talked about or we haven't addressed. One, we haven't addressed Sleeping in Light at all.
I have intentionally been avoiding that. That's just on a plane unto itself.
I know, so have I.
I figured as much.
And with the exception of one or two instances, we haven't even really we haven't adopted Crusade in this discussion.
I know that Crusade's in the Babylon 5 universe, but I feel like they are two separate entities. They've got their thing. Babylon 5 is another. And I'm almost entirely sticking to Babylon 5, minus the speed scooter.
Or even like I don't think we've mentioned anything from the TV movies.
Not particularly, no.
Yeah.
And I'm not ruling them out.
Yeah, it's just maybe it's something for like Babylon 5 fans where we kind of like stick to the canon proper, where it is the 5 seasons. And then everything else after that is kind of like an outlier or an afterthought. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but we're really focused on the 5 seasons.
Maybe so. Yeah, I think maybe the brain just sort of defaults to that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
John Bowersock says, Dr. Stephen Franklin really got to me because being a doctor, his choices can lead to life or death, just like real life. Absolutely. That's why I love Believers, because whatever he does, he has to stay with his convictions, or he sells out to whatever reasoning is at the time.
Yeah.
Right. And that kind of that in and of itself would devalue his expertise as the head of medical on Babylon 5.
Yeah. Every character had a great arc. Every single one of them. You could argue for any of them.
Char and I said this at the beginning of the show. We're probably going to split this up into 2 separate episodes because there's still a lot to get to.
Oh, yeah. And then we want to hear your suggestions too in comments here or in the Facebook group, what have you. We'll definitely have to do a part 2 at some point.
Yeah. So do you want to like say maybe get 1 or 2 of the big ticket items, 1 or 2 thermonuclear level weapons?
We probably should have them on hand just in case.
Okay. So let's do, let's see, what have we not done? Have we done favorite quote? I don't think we have.
Oh, okay. I mean, we covered a lot of those already with Angry Sheridan, if you value your lives. That's probably got to be mine, in all honesty.
Oh, Delenn's from Severed Dreams?
Uh-huh.
Well,
yeah, what's yours?
You want to guess where it comes, who it comes from?
I'll guess Jakar.
You'll guess right.
Okay. Which one is it? Now that's a little too tricky. You're going to have to tell us.
All right. It's the sum of our tears.
Okay.
It always has been, because there's just so much conveyed, we're all the sum of our tears, too few and nothing can grow. The soil is too fertile and nothing can grow, too many, and the best of us is washed away. It's just so profound from where this character started, and it's what he told Talon.
Yeah, it's downright Shakespearean too in its prose. It's just beautifully constructed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful a beautiful line, beautiful scene, beautiful quote, and it performed brilliantly. And it just,
Mhm.
it's something that you wouldn't expect from Jakar. You know,
Not quite. And
Mhm.
nevertheless, there it is. He's
Yeah,
always full of surprises. All right. How about favorite ship design?
that's an interesting one. That is an interesting one for sure. As a gamer, I love ship designs, and I love kind of like getting into the nitty gritty of like all of the minutia that comes with ships.
Uh-huh.
Also, as a science fiction fan, because I love Star Trek ships, I love
Of
Star Wars
course.
ships.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of the Centauri look.
Are
Just
you?
yeah, I
All
really
right.
am. And their heavy cruiser is called a Vorchon class cruiser. Um, and it's the ones where usually they're huge. They're kind of like two crescents intersecting.
Yes, they are very crescent shaped.
Yeah, and I love how everything in all of the ships, all of the cultures are very well defined in their technology. But I love the fact that I think um, they're just gorgeous looking to me. They're And yeah, I mean, I love the Narn ships. I love the Narn heavy cruisers. Obviously, I love the Charlene class, Minbari cruisers, everything,
Yo.
the Charlene class. But for some reason, it's just that particular ship in and of itself, the Centauri heavy cruiser, the big one. Um, it just speaks to me.
All
Yeah,
right. It
yeah,
sparks joy.
yeah. How about you?
I got to go with the good old White Star, baby. I love that ship. As my great grandfather used to say, cool. It's just
Really?
cool. I love the White Star. They're little and they're mighty.
Mhm.
They get around so good. I mean, it reminds me of my car. Like it's perfect for what I want. It's fast and it's
Yeah.
small and it's capable of I don't know. It's just very good at what it needs to do. you know, I've had this car forever, so
I was going to do the whole. Really, it kind of looks like a plucked chicken.
yeah. Now it's not anymore.
Yeah.
It's not.
Now the white stars are beautiful, and I think that one of the things that Babylon 5 is either hailed for, or kind of criticized for, are how alien their ships actually really look. Because when you really think about it, this is like the first time where they're not streamlined to what we believe ships should look like. Because up until this point, everything is either Star Wars looking, or Star Trek looking, or
Yeah.
Space 1999 looking. You know, they're all of a certain look, right?
Yes, it's very distinct. Like there's this kind of template that everybody
Right.
follows.
So when you got to the White Stars, or you got to the Minbari ships, or when you got to the Vorlon ships, or the Shadows, obviously, there are all these really extreme. They pushed the level of ship designs to the extreme to fit the cultures that were in the show. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think so. Very distinct, as you
Yeah.
pointed out.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Oh, we have suggestions, and you know what, guys? I
Mm.
think we have these written down. Best costumes. I think that's the next thing on our list. We might not get to it today, but it's there. Best hairstyle. I think. Let me check. I think that's also on there.
You want to do one of these two from John?
I've got favorite hairstyle written down. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we tackle one of John's? Sure.
Okay. Which one would you like?
How about let's talk about like best costume.
Best
The
costume.
way I put it
Hmm.
was, it doesn't have to be a uniform, but it's like what somebody wears very often.
Uh huh.
So, yeah, defined as an ensemble a character wears on a regular basis. So it doesn't have to be limited just to, say, an Earth Force uniform or what have you. It's what a character wears frequently.
Right.
What is yours?
I'm probably gonna have to go with Marcus's Ranger uniform. I
Nice.
always love that. Well, either that one, or any of the non uniformed Ranger ones. What I mean, like, Marcus had a specific look for his Ranger. Any of the An Shakna, like Sheridan, had a very specific look for his Ranger.
Yeah.
Even Sinclair, when Sinclair arrived as ambassador, he had a very specific look for Ranger One. You
Truth.
know,
Yeah.
so I like
Yeah.
all of those because they're a little bit Jedi-ish. You know, the
uh-huh.
warrior monk. Yeah.
I think I've got to go with one of the robes Delenn wore, the green one.
Hmm.
You knew
Hmm.
she meant business when she was wearing that baby.
Yeah, that
It
was
debuted in season 3.
Is that the one that she was wearing when she was sitting in the White Star in Severed Dreams?
Yes, it's that one. I love the look of that one. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It looks really good on her. Um, I think it's got kind of a cool texture, and it's a little different than her other usual kind of Minbari getup.
Mhm.
You know, it's a little more utilitarian, where like, hey, we got to get shit done. We can't be messing around with layers upon layers of stuff. No, no, no. Let's just go with this.
Right. This wasn't diplomacy. This is diplomacy,
Right.
Delenn.
And it looks
This is
soft,
business,
and it looks
Delenn.
like it's easy to move in, and it looks nice.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. And Slice of Sci-Fi says my favorite will always be the Army of Light uniforms. We have
Oh,
affection for that.
close
Yeah.
second. Also, Jakar's getup and Londo's. Very ornate, very detailed,
Mhm.
very much put together for that particular character, respectively.
Yeah, it's definitely reminiscent of their culture for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like I've always wanted to see like a Londo or a Jakar like slide their closet door open and see what else is in there.
Right? Yeah. Well, I do love Jakar in a bathrobe. His
Jakar,
version of a
yeah,
bathrobe.
Jakar, like yeah, like Playboy Jakar, Hugh Hefner Jakar is definitely cool.
The Narn Hugh Hefner. Oh my God. I'm never going to shake that out of my head. Oh, John Bowersox has a good one. The costume Susan's wear. I love her nightgown, like the purplish one.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty. I like that color.
Yeah, Claudia looks great, pretty much draped in
I mean,
burlap.
she looks good
Yeah.
in anything.
Yeah. I mean, you can go with the Psycor uniforms, and obviously they're of a reason, right? I think that it's interesting that I always wonder why they put security, Babylon 5 security, in gray, but it obviously was reason to put the Night Watch band on them. So you had the Night Watch band and then gray
And then
security, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets to a certain look, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because we've seen security in that olive drab. It very well could have been that.
Yeah.
But I think that they wanted to make a specific statement when Night Watch and security went Nazi.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And, well, it worked.
Right? Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Gray, I mean, obviously, again, with understanding becoming Superman, there was something that was very profoundly affecting when Joe put on his father's Nazi uniform.
Was forced to.
Forced to. Yeah, forced to. Under much duress.
But refused to salute.
Right. That was just forget that.
Yeah. Oh.
Right.
Gross. I feel dirty.
One other costume I really, really, really loved is that I love Star Fury pilot uniforms.
Yeah, good choice.
I love the fact that there's a rank and file in that system, and that even Bester, when he was in the Star Fury, when he was in the Black Omegas, he even wore an actual Earth Force Star Fury uniform, instead of like some type of like all black, Psycor uniform.
Right. So yeah, there's like a certain standardization to it across the board, apparently.
Yeah, and in the B5 guide or the encyclopedia, and in the B520 coffee table book, there's a great section on all of the Earth Force patches.
Ooh, cool! I've not looked at this.
It's amazing, and they have the Agamemnon, they have the Cortez, they have all of the different Star Fury designations, like you have Delta Squad, you have Gamma Squad. They're just so cool, and that's where I love when cultures and governments and symbolism is really well thought out, because it just adds to the depth of the realism of the show. It adds to the agency of that universe.
Yeah, that attention to detail, it just makes it feel very real. Somebody's thought about this, and everything has purpose, which every good show does. Okay, we're over time. But I want to put one more thing out while we're talking about uniforms.
Yeah.
Army of Light, we both love it. Our listeners love it. Who wore it best?
Well, okay, so let's put it into context. You have to take away Sheridan's, like, his vestibule, or that shawl that he wore. Vestment, not vestibule. Because there's something that he had that.
Oh, I'm not even counting that.
Okay. Who wore it best?
Who? Yeah, who looks the best in an Army of Light uniform?
Not Zach. Never fits him right.
Poor Zach. It's never Zach.
Yeah, it's never Zach. You know who I thought looked really good in it? I thought Garibaldi looked really good in it.
Yeah. I think everybody looks pretty
Well, yeah,
awesome in those
yeah,
uniforms. I got to go with Ivanova. Why did you pick Garibaldi?
because it seems to not fit him in a. It seems to not fit him in a personal way. Like
Hmm.
security is his uniform,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
right? The security gray, that kind of. He's a. It was a white collar suit on a blue collar guy, and
Ah.
it made a really good juxtaposition of those two elements of his life. Like Garibaldi comes from cops. He grew up
Yeah.
with as a cop. He grew up with cops. He's just a very blue collar worker, right?
True, true. Yeah.
And Sheridan wears it great because it's a uniform. He wears uniforms great. Ivanova, obviously, Claudia wears uniforms great. But
Yeah.
I just like that it's not Garibaldi's uniform. Now, if it was like a gray version of the Army of Light uniform, it might have fit him better.
We are
Right?
gray.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, everybody looks great. I would say I love your reasoning for Garibaldi. Franklin, I mean, Richard Biggs was a beautifully sculpted dude. He got a nice body. He
His
can make
body was
anything look
fantastic.
amazing.
Mhm.
But yeah, he wore that incredibly well. Sheridan, I kind of felt like for Garibaldi and Sheridan, like they're gonna look fine and everything.
Mhm.
Um, but now that you mention everything about Garibaldi, I'm gonna have to go back on that just a little bit because that's so good. However, I feel like if we're getting down to purpose, Ivanova wears the Army of Light uniform better than she did Earth Force, which is saying a lot. It's kind of a renewed, different purpose.
Mhm.
And then when she's got her hair back in the ponytail, like that's just trademark Ivanova.
Absolutely.
She and Marcus are on the White Star kicking some ass.
Do you know who I also but in that same respect, I think that who wore the Earth Alliance uniform best? I think Lockley did. She looked
Yes!
amazing in that uniform.
She really does. I mean, poor Tracy Scoggins, she missed out on the better fitting uniform in terms of, I think, movability, but she rocks an Earth Force uniform like nobody else does.
There was just something that was so believable about when she just stepped out and just kind of made her presence known on the station in that uniform. And it was just it just fit her character to the T. Like she is just,
Really did. Yeah, it
you
said a
know,
lot, even before we knew what it was saying.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
that's such a good pick. I love
yeah.
it. All right. I think on that high note, we ought to close up.
Slice of sci-fi. I just want to get to her quotes.
Sure, sure.
The vest Sheridan has rocked, and you know who also rocked it? Ivanova rocked it.
Yeah, agreed.
When she went up against those Omega class shadow destroyers, she was wearing that. I'm just like, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's the hybridization of the Army of Light uniform, which is the that look, plus the kind of like a tip to the hand of where she's going to go later as
Right?
head of the Rangers.
Yeah, and she
Right.
looks really good with that too.
I always
Mm.
loved her when at the end when she looked in the mirror. She looked so proud and sad at the same time.
Well, it was a turning point for her. It was a new day.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
So
needed it.
so Shar, I'm going to ask you a really tough question.
Oh, okay. Bring it.
And this is I'm gonna wrap this up because it's not a high note we're gonna wrap up on, but a very poignant note. When
Oh.
are you and I gonna tackle sleeping of light? Sleeping in light, I should say.
Oh, like, okay, how are we going to tackle it? Are we going to do a really detailed analysis? Are we going to do a watch along commentary where we're just ugly crying the whole time? What are we going to do?
Yes.
Okay, Kosh. you know, let's do it in November as close to the air date as we
Oh,
can.
okay.
How about that?
That sounds awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look that up. I don't remember the exact date, but we'll
Okay.
see how that matches up on the calendar for us, and then we'll mark that down as that's what we'll do.
I think that because this episode was so much fun, and thank you everybody for participating.
Yes, thank you
I think
guys.
that if we advertise this show a little bit more, that's interesting. You guys should worry about copyright. Copyright, what? We're not going to show it, John. We're not going to show
no.
Sleeping in Light.
No, because that does violate copyright. We don't want to get in trouble.
What we'll probably do with that is that we'll have a live viewing with everybody as we'll it's kind of like, John, what I did with Highlander is that we did the actual commentary as we're watching the show.
Right. We'll try and sync everybody up as much as we can, and
Right.
you can
And
watch
react.
along with us or not.
Yeah, we'll react to it in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you get around that.
We will intersect that in real time.
Oh, look at what you did. Love it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. So many good comments, so many good suggestions. We'll have to come back and do more Desert Island at some point. This is just too good to not do again. It was fun.
Absolutely, and we had a blast doing it, and it's funny like how even in this conversation how some of our answers changed because there's so much to love, right?
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention our merch. Got to plug our merch. We are stunning in purple today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You damn right I am.
And like Char said, the merchandise, you can find the information on our TeePublic store on the link below. If you like what you have seen, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all the YouTube things because we are growing very, very nice and steadily. And we have a lot of like numbers in our previous shows that are starting to increase over time. And I think that this community is growing so fantastically. And I'm so glad that we're doing this, Char, you and I doing this together, and to just to keep that Babylon 5 torch alive.
You're darn right. This is what we set out to do. And you know what I just realized? We've been doing this for a year now.
Have we really?
Yeah, we started in September last year.
Wow. Fantastic.
So, yeah, we're doing our part to keep Babylon 5 alive. And we know that there's a lot of other fans out there. So if you guys can help us spread the word, the more the merrier. We know that Babylon 5 isn't going to be one of the many shows rebooted or revived or what have you. We got to maintain its legacy. It's up to us. Joe did the work of making the show. Now it's up to us to keep it alive.
Yeah, we're the Rangers out there for Babylon 5. And if anything can keep anything going over time in memorial and in perpetuity, it's passion.
Yeah, damn right. And we got it.
And we got it. So until next time, be seeing you.
Bye.